Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeanette Molapo from African Institute for Supply Chain Research. I'm a coordinator of grant research and education. Before we start, can Dr. Acquah, can you please share your slide in the meantime? Welcome to our research support webinar series session. The purpose of the session is to guide the master's and doctoral student on organizing your literature and citing your resource. Before we start with the session, I want to take you through some of our housekeeping rules. Please ensure that your speaker is muted and the video is off to avoid unstable connection. We will have a questions and answer session at the end of presentation, but you are also allowed to write questions or comment on the chat box. You are also allowed to raise your hand and your hand will be acknowledged. Presentation slide will be provided upon request. Our guest speaker for today is Dr. Innocent Acquah. Dr. Innocent Acquah is a lecturer in the Department of Marketing and Supply Chain Management, School of Business at the University of Cape Coast. He holds a PhD in Supply Chain Management from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, an LLM in Public Procurement Law and Policy from the University of Nottingham, an MSc in Supply Chain Management from Coventry University, an M.Com in Marketing and a Bachelor in Management Studies from the University of Cape Coast. He is a chartered fellow of the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, from where he also obtained a professional diploma, advanced diploma, and foundation diploma in procurement and supply. He is also a member of the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, International Purchasing, Supply Chain Education, and Research Association, the Institute for Supply Chain Management, the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, as well as the Procurement Law Academics Network. Dr. Acquah chairs the Ghana branch of the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply. He's also the coordinator of Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, accredited MSc and M.Com, which is Procurement and Supply Chain Management program at the Department of Marketing and Supply Chain, School of Business, University of Coast. He's also the professional program accreditations lead for all procurement and supply chain management program at the Department of Marketing and Supply Chain. Let's welcome Dr. Acquah. Dr. Acquah, over to you. Thank you.
You see, this is what you do to you. I mean, you do to her. I will remove my things from here, plus your bottle. It's on the table. We can turn that. Then you come. Voila.
Dr. Acquah, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm very happy to be called upon to do this presentation for two main reasons. One, because of the opportunity to share some knowledge, and two, because I'll be in the position to help others go through what some of us suffered to go through, because we're not having some of these tools, or we are not aware of some of these tools when we were doing our program. So I'm very delighted to be called upon to do this. I'll move quickly to what we are supposed to do. And my presentation outline is as follows. We'll be having some background to the presentation. Thereafter, we'll look at what referencing is, the parts of referencing, the importance and referencing, manage and organize our citations. And then we'll look at how to organize our literature using spreadsheets. Then finally, we'll have our conclusion on the presentation. They are key in academic research. In fact, you can't do an academic research without citing or referencing others. And you'd expect others to refer to your work and cite you as well. So whilst you are writing and expecting people to cite you in the future, it is just appropriate that you also start by citing those you are consulting whilst you are doing your research. It also demonstrates your knowledge the research goes into. The reference section is a challenging part of the work of any academic writing. Even though it is challenging, it is a part that cannot be avoided, and hence it is appropriate for us to know how to go about it to help us do our work well. Managing, organizing, and citing references a real challenge, especially if you don't keep track of what and who we cite. And most will agree with me that if you start writing and you don't keep track of your citations, you finish and start looking for where the sources you got your information from are. And that becomes a very difficult work. So keeping track of those you cite right from the beginning is key in any academic research. There are some tools to help us in this regard as well. So in the latter parts of the presentation, we'll be looking at some of these tools. So we start with the importance of referencing. Why is it important? But before then, let's look at what referencing is. Sources, details about the sources of information you have used. So any information you use in your work, just provide us with the details of those sources of information. Who wrote that paper or that book, when the book was written, who published that book. All those pertinent information is what we need. And if you are providing that, we say that you are doing referencing. Details about the sources of information you use for your work. Why is it important? It's important because, one, it helps us acknowledge the work of others. You consult others' work, you have to acknowledge same in your work so that we know that whatever you've written here, some ideas were from other people's work. It also helps us avoid plagiarism, which in academia is a serious offense. Some even say that's the highest offense when it comes to academia. It also helps to indicate the range of sources you've used in your work or your assignment, and hence enables others to trace the sources you've listed in order to find further information for their own use as well. So briefly, these are some of the importance of referencing. There are more. Now, the path to referencing. Mainly, referencing have two main parts. What we refer to as, one, the in-text citation, which is a brief details of the sources of information you use, and this is usually written within the body of the work. For example, if you are writing a sentence in the body of the work, and if you are bringing Acquah 2021 at the beginning of the sentence, so for example, Acquah 2021 2021 suggested that the 2021 would be in parentheses. So Acquah 2021 suggested that so and so happened. However, if you consulted this same Acquah 2021, but you are bringing the reference at the end of the sentence, then the Acquah and the 2021 both will be in parentheses, separated by a comma. So the beginning of the work, the name is outside the parentheses. At the end of the work, the name and the year are both inside the parentheses, separated by a comma. That's about in-text referencing. Then the other part of referencing is the list of works cited. Some call it bibliography. Others refer to it as reference. There's a slight difference in there. We'll be looking at that. He talks about the full details of the sources information you use within the assignment, and you provide it at the end of the work. These are provided at the end of the work. Now, between the reference and the bibliography, referencing refers to the list of all sources that you cited in the work, in text citations, bringing the list of all those sources to the end of the work is what we refer to as your reference list. However, we are very much aware that you may consult several other things that you may not cite in text. But if you want to recognize all those and bring all those at the end of your work, in addition to all the others you cited in text, then we'll say you are doing a bibliography rather than a reference list. So for the reference list, it is strictly to all those you cited in text. The bibliography goes beyond all those you cited in text. Now, referencing books and periodicals. Usually, they are the main things we use in our academic writing, even though there are several others. The main ones include the books and the periodicals. And in simple citation of a book, the basic format is we require you to provide the surname of the author or the authors. If it is an edited book, you provide the names of the editors. Then you provide their initials. For example, my name is Innocent Acquah. So if you are referencing my book, then you write Acquah, which is my surname, and then my initials will be ISK. Then you provide the year of publication. In this case, the year of publication is 2021, which should be in parentheses, and then a full stop come at the end of that. The title of the book, which in this case will be Supply Chain Management Principles and Practice. Then if it's a book with several editions, then you have to provide the edition of that book. This particular book we have in here is just one. There's no other edition. So we will not have that in here. Then you provide the city of publication, the city where the publication was made. So if it is London, you provide London. If it is Accra, you provide Accra. If it is Pretoria, you provide Pretoria. Others add the country. So if it is Pretoria, South Africa, Pretoria, South Africa. If it is Accra, Ghana, you provide Accra, Ghana. Then finally, you provide the names of the publisher. It can be Taylor and Francis, Emerald, Wiley, etc. So these are the basic parts or the editors, their initials, the year of publication, which should be in parentheses, the title of the book, the city of publication, and the name of the publisher. Journals, magazines, newspapers. They also provide similar information, but you realize that these ones have other information that books don't have. I'll be looking at them briefly. For the periodicals, the surname of the authors is also supposed to be provided. The initials of the authors is also supposed to be provided, just as we saw in the book. The year of publication will come, the title of the article will come. Note that in this case, an article. So the title of the article will come. Then the title of the journal in which the publication or the article was published. Journals have volumes, so the volume number will come. The issue number would also come. And then finally, the pages within which we can find your article or that article within the journal. So if the article is within pages 200 to 222 in that journal with an issue number 1 and volume 22, then we'll represent those page numbers in there. For magazine articles, we are also supposed to include the month of publication and the date if that is relevant to the work. Then for newspapers, we are supposed to include the month and the day after the year is provided. So the month and the day in which that newspaper article was published should be provided after the year. So this is a basic format for citing periodicals, in that case, journals, magazines, newspapers, etc. So looking at the format we saw earlier, a journal published by these authors will be cited as follows. Ba Opoko Ajiman Acquah Isalmuru, etc. 2021. The title of the article is Understanding the Influence of Environmental Production Practices on Firm Performance, a Proactive versus Reactive Approach. The journal in which that particular article was published is the Journal of Manufacturing Technology Management. The volume for that particular journal is volume 32. It was published in issue 2, the second issue, and that particular article, page 9 of that journal volume. For magazine articles, similar example is there. The year comes and the month is followed. The title, the pages, etc. is also provided. For newspaper articles, we have seen, for example, Sparks 8, 2012, January 14, The Danger of Obama's Varieties Challenges, the Mercury on page 11. So these are the essential parts of our periodicals when we are citing them in our reference list. Now, there are several citation styles. And at this point, I would entreat you to consult the style your institution or the group you are writing for or the journal you want to publish in uses. The typical ones we have are the ones provided by the American Psychological Association, which we usually refer to as the APA Referencing Manual. It is in its current 7th edition. Then you have the modern Chicago referencing style, the Harvard referencing style, and then the Vancouver referencing style. The point to note here is that whichever your institution chooses, your institution will have a guide on how to approach your referencing. So if you know your institution uses APA, consult the library. You would have a guide on how to cite based on the manual your institution has adopted and use that in your citation. It becomes very frustrating when you finish all your citations and you finish preparing your reference list without knowing the style your institution goes by, and you are at the verge of submitting and you are reminded that no, your referencing style does not conform with whatever the institution uses. It becomes a frustrating venture. So please, you would have a guide on same, consult same, and then go accordingly. But the information we spoke about earlier, we'll run through all of them. The names of the authors, the initials, the title of the books or article, the year, if it's an article, the volume, the issue, etc. All those things will run through, but in some cases, the other things that they add, where a comma will be, where an apostrophe will be, etc., are the differences between most of these referencing styles. So advice is consult the manual or the style your institution adopts to help you in the referencing. Now, I want us to look at some tools that will help us manage and organize our citations and our reference list. Managing a reference list is a bit tedious. However, there are softwares and you manage them and manage them well. The first on my list here is Zotero, which helps in the collection of research in a single searchable interface. You can add your PDFs, your images, your audios, your video files, snapshots of websites, and almost everything you need to keep track of. Zotero helps you do that. So if you're interested, you can go online and then get Zotero and see and familiarize yourself with it and see how it will help you in organizing and managing your references. Another tool available is RefWorks, which is also an online search management and helps gather, manage, store, and share all types of information as well as generate citations and bibliographies. One thing is when they pick all this for you, at the end of the day, you can then use those to generate your citations and bibliography. Then the next one is Mendeley, also pretty similar to this. It's a free reference manager and academic social network that can help you organize your research, also helps you collaborate online with others, helps you discover the latest research available, and it looks for so many things. Automatically generates your bibliographies for you, helps you collaborate easily with other researchers online. It helps you easily import papers from other search softwares, find relevant papers based on what you are reading, access your papers from anywhere online, and read your papers on the go if you use this particular reference manager. Then EndNote. This is what I am very, very familiar with because I use this in my master's work as well as in my PhD work. It's a good tool that also helps you put together bibliographics and helps you write your papers with features like cite files you write, and also has sync capabilities that let you access all of your references, attachments, and groups from anywhere. And if you have access, please use. One secret too about this is that most of your institutions would have bought this particular softwares. All you may need to do is to inquire from your library as to which one of them they have, and then you can then, with your student ID or whatever information they need, download and then use. So please, another important point here is consult your library and search if they have any of these citation or reference manager softwares available. Most institutions have them. Consult and then get them so that you can familiarize yourself and then start using them. They make your research life very, very easy. Then sites you like, also praise like the ones we've mentioned before. Cite This For Me, and then EasyBuy are all examples of tools that are available online that can help you manage your references. For example, the EasyBuy helps you create the MLA, the APA, and Chicago star citations in seconds by scanning a book barcode or by typing the name of the book. Build and manage your works cited, and once done, email your citations and then export your citations to easybuy.com popular bibliography management service. So it does a lot. So if you can familiarize yourself with this online, it can help you manage your references well. Now, these are softwares that help. Others may not be interested in softwares. And usually I say, software produce the information you give them. So it's up to you to have the right information so that you can feed that software with the information you have. Then with any command you give, they can provide whatever you want. One key way to start from the base, which has helped a lot, is using spreadsheets to organize your literature. It's very simple. You don't need to buy any software, but it helps you keep track of your literature from the beginning of your work till you are done. And when you are done and you are building your bibliography, it makes that part of the work very easy. If you are quoting people, it makes it very easy. What do we do? It's just about you opening a spreadsheet with several columns. For example, in the first column, I prefer you have an ID number. You number each reference you are coming to use. So ID number of the article, the book, or whichever documentation you'll be using. Then the year of that publication will be in the next column. So if, for example, the paper I refer to Acquah 2021, then 2021 will be the next column. Let's state the year. Then the authors of that particular material will be in your third column. The authors of the material will be in the third column. The title of the publication is in the next column. Some brief information, abstract about the publication. Then you have your keywords in that publication as well, in another column. Then the objectives or the research questions that were answered in that publication would also be in a column. Then the methodologies that were used, the research design, the research approach, the sampling and sampling technique adopted. Then the analysis technique used is also a key thing you would have to put in a column. Then the major findings or the main findings in the paper or the book would also be in a column. Then the reference for that particular publication. So if in your institution you are using or you've adopted APA referencing style, put the APA reference of that publication in the column. Then let us know the type of resource that is. Is it an article, a book, a newspaper, or something else? Then the location or the context of the work. Is it Ghana? Is it South Africa? Was the work done in the health sector, the petroleum sector, or where? The context of the work should also be indicated. Then you may see some quotations you'll be interested in picking. Pick those quotations and their pages, and also have same in a different column. Now, what this does to you is that by the time you add these to the various publications, that means the articles or the resources you've downloaded or you have have to also number them accordingly. So that when you go to ID number 1 and it is paper A, when you go to your sources, that should have ID number 1, so that when you are comparing, it becomes much more easier. When you do all this, when you are writing, it is easier for you to consult here, come pick quotations you're interested in, look at the research questions, look at the keywords, the authors, the title, etc., and then you transfer that to your work when you are writing your work. This is basic, it is spreadsheet, but it is very important in helping you or assisting you in doing your research. Anyone can do this using their laptops, and then it makes life a bit easier when we are citing. Importantly, I'll stress again on the quotations. Usually when you are writing and you pick quotations, you may even forget where you picked them from. And with quotations, you are required to provide the pages from where those quotations were picked. If you provide these quotations in a column and you add the pages, when you get there, you just pick this and go. And always you have a reference as to where you pick the quotation from, the article from where the quotation is coming from, the year the article was published, etc., etc. So it's a very important resource. Let's try and use them and see how helpful they will be to us. It has been very helpful to me. Now, in conclusion, academic writing, and as you mentioned earlier, without doing this well, you may be found of committing an academic crime. And hence, let's try as much as possible to check our citations and references and do them from scratch. The key is that plan and organize from the start. Don't do your work halfway through and come back and say you are now planning how to manage your citations. No, start from the beginning. In fact, from the proposal stage, you should have all these available and start putting together your literature, your references, and your citations. Again, use an appropriate tool. All the tools may not work for you. Try all of them and pick the ones that work for you. If it's the spreadsheet that works for you, please use it. Don't use a tool that you can't manage, because what you will end up doing is you get frustrated at the end if you're unable to retrieve whatever citations or references you've uploaded onto those softwares. And then finally, your spreadsheet is the basis to keep track of your citations and references. Use that as your base and then build from that. Use your spreadsheets as a base and build from that point upwards. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Acquah, for the wonderful presentation. I would like to give an opportunity to our audiences to present their questions. Please raise your hand and your hand will be acknowledged. Thank you. In the meantime, let me go through the chat box. Our first question from Sylvester Ogata, saying that what or who determines the style of referencing like APA, MLA, Harvard, etc. Dr. Acquah, can you please answer this?
I've not gotten it well. Is it who demands or who recommends it?
Oh, he said who determines the style of referencing?
Okay. So the style of referencing, if you are a student, it is usually your institution. The institution adopts a particular style of referencing and that is made known to you. Again, some style of referencing too are also familiar to certain disciplines. For example, in business, a lot of people go for the Harvard style, whilst in other areas, other disciplines, they go for APA. But most importantly, your institution will determine which referencing style they want you to use. If it's a journal you are writing for, the journal will indicate their referencing style and even give examples of how the referencing style should be implemented. So the journal or your university or your institution will tell you which type of referencing style is acceptable to them, and hence you are supposed to go by that referencing style.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Acquah. I hope Sylvester Ogata is answered. We have another question from Miring, saying, I trust this presentation is using the APA style version or MLM or Chicago or Harvard. Please clarify.
Okay. This presentation, we used APA. I use APA because in my institution, it is APA we use. So that becomes the default for me when I'm presenting. So I used APA.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Walter Maliana, saying, "Hi, doctor, can you please clarify the use of the concepts bibliography and the reference list? Are these used interchangeable? The reason I'm asking is because I thought that with the bibliography, you can still include sources, read, but not used, while reference list only include used sources."
Yes, you've answered the question in part because for the references, as I mentioned earlier, your citation is supposed to be two parts, the in-text citation and then what you bring at the end of the work. For reference list, you're only supposed to keep those papers or those materials recited in text. You are not supposed to introduce anything that has not been cited in text. So the basic thing anyone reviewing your work does is to compare what you have in text with what you have in your reference list to see if there's a match or if there are new things that have been introduced. So for the reference list, you only bring in the reference list only materials you've cited in text. If you read it and use the idea and you didn't cite it, which is even wrong in the first place because you're supposed to be citing whichever ideas you are using. You are not supposed to bring it in the reference list. So it's only for materials you've read, you've used, and you cited in text. For bibliography, it goes beyond what you cited. It may include what you read but didn't use, etc. More than that. So you may have more materials cited in the bibliography which have not been used in text than if you are using your reference list. So for a reference list, it is only for materials cited in text. Bibliography includes both materials cited in text and others you read and you didn't cite in text. I hope I've clarified this much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Acquah. I hope I hope Walter Maliana is entered. We have another question saying that, "May I propose and request that questions and answers be shared as well?" We have another comment from other question from Emmanuel Poho, saying, "Can we please see example of the end node in practice?" Dr. Acquah, can you hear me?
Yes, if I hear you clearly, you wanted to know if they can see an example of the MLA referencing style. Okay, what I'll do is I'll add such examples to the presentation before it is shared. However, a quick trick is when you go to Google Scholar and you search any article, and usually below that article you see two comments in there. When you click on same, it gives you the citation of the article in the different referencing styles. So you see the APA, the MLA, the Chicago, the Harvard, and then Vancouver. And hence, whichever one you want to use or you prefer, you just pick it from there. So that's another way of getting your various examples to the referencing style. However, note that we'll be including examples you requested in the presentation before we share. But if you want to cite any other thing in any other format and you are not sure, just go to Google Scholar, search for the article. Below that, you see some two comments, click on those, and then the various referencing styles will come. You just copy the most appropriate one and then use.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Molatelo saying, "Which referencing style version is the best for academic research?"
I would say none of them is the best. It depends on the discipline, the institution, and maybe the journal. So none of them is the best. Some disciplines prefer some to others. It doesn't mean those are better than others. Referencing is just about providing information on the materials you use. So any of the styles provide information on the material you use. It's just about preference, etc. That's why people choose the styles they want. It doesn't mean any of them is better than the other.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Acquah. I hope Latole is answered. We also have another question saying from Daniel.
Sorry, sorry, may I interrupt? I have a follow-up question. Sorry.
All right.
Okay. Hi, doctor. I just want to ask, can I use all of them at the same time, or should I choose one when referencing? Can I mix them? Those styles?
Okay. No,
or
it's not
or
advisable.
must I be
to use them.
consistent?
You have to be consistent.
Okay.
Yes, you have to be consistent. If you choose APA, you're referencing both in-text and out-text should be APA consistently. You don't use APA for in-text and maybe use Harvard for out-text, or maybe use some parts of the in-text APA, others Harvard. No. Whichever references style you choose, you'd have to be consistent throughout the work.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that.
Okay,
thank you. Thank you, Ms. Molapo.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question from Danielle saying, according to APA version 7, does references list part of maximum page number or excluded as appendices?
Usually, your referencing is part of your work. So if you are counting the page numbers, your reference list is counted as part of the page numbers.
Okay, we have another question. I don't think we have another question so far. No question in the other question in the chat box. I hope everyone is answered. No further questions so far, Prof. I would like to thank everyone for taking their time to avail.
There are some hands that have been raised. You probably.
Oh, I can't. Oh.
We can see a hand from Molatelo and also Sylvester Ogata.
Oh, I can see hands here.
Okay. Hello, I'm Sylvester Ogata. Hello, Dr. Acquah. I don't know whether you're getting me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Now, just a little bit again on bibliography and reference materials. You are saying that on bibliography, it includes all that you studied, but you may have not included in citations. If I got you well. Hello?
Yes.
So now, how then do you account for?
You may not have cited in text.
But then how in an academic research, then how do you account for that? That maybe I use this, how do you, because it's not cited anywhere. Is it okay? Is it rightly accepted? Because you are just mentioning them, but you didn't cite them anywhere.
Yeah, that's why usually in academic writing, in most cases, they require you to do your reference list. because that forces you to cite all those you've consulted so that you can then bring them to the back of your work.
Okay, then number 2 in the
So
same. Yes, I get it. I get it now.
Okay.
Then in the same, is there a software style that you can be able to use such that by the end, when you are going to do the reference list, it can come out automatically instead of you again generating that?
Yes, I speak about the EndNote that I used. In EndNote, you have the chance to choose the referencing style you want. So by the time you finish, all you need to do is to export the references in the referencing style you want into Word, and then you attach it to your work. So there are. I know the other ones will also have those capabilities.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. If you have any question, please raise your hands and doctor will take your question. Oh, we have, okay. There's another hand from Linda Mashilwani.
Okay, I would like to ask Doctor, whether is it possible to share the presentation with us? Because I missed, I think, 20 minutes. I had problem with the signal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, the presentation will be shared.
Okay, thank you. Prof, do you have any question? Prof. Marcus Amber, do you have any question with regards?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, program coordinator. And also thank you, Dr. Acquah. I mean, you've done so well. You articulated the facts so well. We can only appreciate the work that you've done. From my context, I want to also thank the audience. They were on time and also fully participating and making a valuable comment or questions that require some clarity. And that is the objective of these sessions, so that we use them as a learning platform as well as a refresher sessions for those that are already in the process to keep abreast with the latest developments that are happening. And on this context, I want to encourage you to continue to look out for, the research support webinar programs that are coming on board. You are aware we indicated that every 2 weeks we have one session. So today is the 13th, going towards the end of the month, should be the 27th, we'll be having the next session. So look out and try and follow ISCA on the various social media platforms. But on my side, I want to really thank our speaker once more, Dr. Acquah, and also the audience and the ISCA support team led by Janet. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I would like to thank everyone for taking their time to avail themselves for this webinar. A special thanks to Dr. Acquah for the insightful presentation. Thank you once again. Have a lovely day further. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. And have a lovely evening further.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, I attended this webinar. Webinar. It's like workshop online.